Let's go to Audrey Snyder. Sorry, Audrey. Let's try this again. Go ahead.
Hey, Taylor, you got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Awesome. Thanks for your time.
Yep.
I wanted to actually ask you about Bob. He and I spoke a week or so ago, and he was telling me about Stutter and all the success you guys had off of that. What do you remember about that? And then also, what has Bob meant to you? Because I believe he told me he was in your wedding, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's you have a unique opportunity when you become a coach because you're around these guys a lot. In some regards, you become more of a mentor to these guys, and that's what Coach DeBest was for me. Even now, I mean, we talk quite a bit. Obviously, the relationship has grown and changed from just coach and player to mentee, mentor, to just flat out friends. And so, yeah, he's meant a lot to me. I've bounced almost every idea off of him. He hired me. He helped hire me when I was at the University of New Mexico. So he's meant a lot to me. He's been a really good coaching figure for me, and he's just been there for me. So yeah, and then some of the routes that we ran, they're ran now. We have some of them that will be in the game plan as well, and you've seen it grown throughout the years, some of the routes that we were doing. So that was a fun route. It helped me get open a little bit.
Let's go to John Sauber.
Hey, Taylor, how are you?
Doing well.
James mentioned yesterday that right now you guys have 5 wide receivers that you can trust, with the top 3 being the starters being tap guys, as far as wanting to come out of the game. Do you think Trey Wallace is at a point where he could crack that top 3 at some point, and what will it take for him to get there?
Trey's stock has improved, and it's improved over a lot of hard work. Last year, if you looked at what Trey was doing when he first came in here, you would have thought, man, he got tons of potential, but he's a long ways away from even playing in the game. And so he's worked his tail off. The bowl prep was huge for him. He got a ton of extra reps. Spring ball was huge for him. And I think he also realized, which most of the guys do, and they underestimate it in the whole recruiting process, how much time really does need to be devoted to your craft, especially at the receiver position. And so he took that time, and he even his parents talked about it when they were here a couple weeks ago, just about when he was at home for that short amount of break. His dad had asked him to go fishing with him, and he was like, "No, Pops, I need to go to the gym, and I need to go run some routes." So you like seeing that growth from him to try to prepare to ultimately participate in the biggest test, which is on Thursday night or Saturdays, is to play. That's the test. And so he has demonstrated that he is going to be prepared, and where he falls in terms of how many reps he's going to get, or if he's going to start or if he's not going to start, we'll still see. I just know he'll be in the rotation.
Let's go to Mark Brennan.
Hey, Taylor, thanks for taking the time today.
Absolutely.
Hey, what do you expect in the continued development of Parker Washington? And having been around a lot of receivers at a lot of different levels, how unique is it to have a guy at 5'10", 215 pounds at that position? He just seems like a unique body type for a receiver.
He is. I have not had one like him before. The one that I had that was close like him was a guy at the University of Utah by the name of Kalen Clay. He was a guy who was similar to him. But what I expect from Parker, I think that he demonstrated towards the end of last year, is having more of those, in some regards, those Jahan Dotson type catches. some of those deep ball type catches. So you can expect Parker to have more of an extensive book of routes. And then, quite frankly, I expect him to master all the stuff that he's done up to date, the option routes, being able to know sooner what the defense is trying to do so that he can run the appropriate route and do it sooner and quicker. Being able to really look at his triangle, really digest it all and slow it down in his mind, but speed it up in his performance so that he can present himself to Sean faster. So that's what I'm expecting of his growth in his third year. Another thing is him being physical. He's shown some things over the last couple of weeks of willing to go down into the box and dig out a linebacker that maybe years past he would not have been able to do or would not want to do. He sees how important that is. And then obviously there's the return aspect in special teams that comes into play.
Let's go to Ben Jones.
Taylor, I was getting caught up on your playing career and came across probably one of the more wonderful excessive celebration penalties that I have seen for the amount of time that you were celebrating the touchdown against Notre Dame. I'm wondering what you remember about that game, and sort of the second part of the question, how do you manage a relationship with a program that's in the conference? Obviously, you guys are in different divisions, but at the end of the day, I'm sure that you want good things for Purdue, but at the same time, there's a certain amount of, we might have to play them one day going on.
Yeah. So the penalty. If you look over my career, I really wasn't one to showboat. That's people in the office now might disagree with that. But I actually was a pretty shy player and pretty shy growing up. But literally, just imagine it, like once again, slow it down. Whatever your profession is, and at that particular time, our biggest rival was Notre Dame. Going into that game, I've said this story a few times. Their DBs had very publicly said that we are going to play man against Purdue. Their receivers cannot win versus man. We're going to play man. And on 3rd and I think 9 on the 3-yard line, they essentially go cover 0. And we were about to just hand the ball off. That's all we were doing. We were going to hand the ball off. We're going to gain maybe 1 yard, 2 yards, and then we're going to tight punt and they get the ball back at, the 40-yard line. They went cover 0. Kyle looked at me. I looked at Kyle. And we gave the 3 look, which for us was 73, which meant vertical. When you look back at it now as a coach, it's like, okay, that was a decent release. The dude fell. So now for literally like 60 yards, that's a long time. 60 yards, I'm running butt naked, nobody around. And I just was excited, and I just was, pumping my fists of true pure excitement. No showboating. It wasn't like I was like, "Hey guys, look at me." It was just pure excitement. The part that Coach Tiller actually got mad about is, if you look at the tail end of that, is I went and looked into the camera. That's what Coach Tiller got mad about, and because it became more about me and not about the team. So I completely understand that aspect. And then, this will be the first time in my career that I've as a coach will be going back to my alma mater to play. And so I do truly look at it as just another opponent, really. We talk about it often, 1-0 mentality. It's not about them, it's about us. And in this regard, this game has nothing to do with me. It really does not. I have to make sure that I prepare my guys so that they can perform in a Big Ten environment, like we all know is an exciting brand of football. So it's going to be fun. it's just going to be fun just in general. And I'm excited for the season to start.
We'll go to Audrey.
Tough act to follow. Taylor, what did you learn as a mortgage broker?
You had to learn to step out of your comfort zone in terms of, in some regards, in sales, it's like recruiting a little bit. You had to prospect, you had to try to build your database, you had to be willing to call and have conversations and build a relationship with clients, which is similar to what we do in recruiting. You got to see what kind of product they're looking for, make them understand that you do care, in which we do, and that you're going to do right by them, and that they can trust you. And so those are some of the things that I learned then, that I take now into recruiting, that kind of run parallel together.
We'll go to Ben.
Taylor, one of the things I've always been interested in is if you've got a guy like Jahan or Parker to a certain extent, that they just have things that you can't teach. I mean, I'm sure that Jahan had great coaches that helped him learn how to catch the ball, but there were things that he was just born to be good at. Where do you think the intersection is between top end talent and coaching? Where do you kind of fit in between the things that you can get a guy better at and things that, they just kind of have innately?
Great question. And I think this is, I could talk about this for a very, very long time. The wide receiver position is very unique because first and foremost, people believe that if you're fast, you can play receiver. If you got this amazing frame to you, that you can play receiver. And though those are some of the attributes that we look for, there is so much that goes into being a wide receiver. One of the biggest things that gets overlooked is how well you catch the ball. And some people can get blinded by speed, but everybody will remember that drop when somebody may be wide open because of their speed, but their hands let them down. So there's this one book that I've read. It talks about high elite places, not necessarily in athletics. It's a book that goes around to a bunch of different places that have high performing people in their field, and it talks about different like it talks about chess, the cello, violinist, to skiers, and all of this stuff. There's hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills are the skills that almost anybody can do through repetition. Your stance. Almost anybody should be able to perfect their stance because it's a hard skill. It's something that if you do day after day after day after day after day, you should be able to perfect it. Your very first step off the line of scrimmage, that's a hard skill. You should be able to perfect it day after day after day after day. It's a hard skill. Now, there's things about wide receiver play that the hard skills really do come into play. Free access slant route. I want 1, 2, 3. I want an elbow jab. I want you to frame the picture of the ball coming in. Once you catch it, I want you to tuck it away. Those are hard skills that can be just repeated day after day and can be perfected. The next is the soft skill. And these are the skills that the Jahan Dotsons, the Parker Washingtons, the elite levels, that's the uncoachable part. That's the part where the body control that Jahan Dotson had against Michigan State when he caught that ball on the sideline, to know where he was at, to then in some regards catch it and maintain his body balance to still go in the end zone. You've seen just throughout either Parker's career or even Jahan's career and some of the others, is that once they get the ball in their hand, that savviness to see a defender that you would think that they would not be able to see, and to whether press the circle button on Madden to hit the spin move or hit the trigger button to speed up, to slow down, to slight hesitation, to jump cut. Those are the things that are really, 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 you can't coach them. You can practice them. but you cannot necessarily coach somebody to have those attributes. So it is a blend. I think that the more talented players, when they become more skilled, their longevity is longer. Where somebody who is extremely talented but not very skilled, I think that their expiration date happens sooner.
Got time for a few more. We'll go to Dan Galen.
Hey Taylor, how are you?
Doing well.
I was just curious as to how Kaden Saunders is coming along, from the time he got here in January to now going into the season. Where have you kind of seen him make strides in that room?
Yeah, it's such an advantage to be able to come in early and be a part of a program. You get to learn the offense, you get to be in the weight room, you get to learn how to practice, you get to learn how to finish. And, Kaden in the spring was far behind on what our standard here in terms of how we practice, how we work. He was far behind. He closed that gap considerably over spring and over summer workouts and fall camp. And so, now he has put himself in position to potentially be in the rotation. We'll see what it is. But, once again, this is the Big Ten. You have to be ready to play. You have to be ready to play every week. And we are going to continue to develop the heck out of all those freshmen and even the sophomores as well. Guys that have been in the program just 1 year. We still got some developing to do. And Kaden, what I've appreciated about Kaden is the things that I've asked him to fix. He may not like hearing about it at the time, but he digests it and he tries to go fix it. So that's what I really appreciate about him. And that's what's going to make him different down the road is he's not going to get emotional about it and say, oh, coach is picking on me. He's going to hear the message and say, all right, I need to fix it.
Mark, go ahead.
Taylor, the soft skills that you were talking about, I wonder how that comes into play with a guy like Malik McDowell. How close is he getting to where he needs to be? And just one other quick thing on him. I think Stacey Collins said he was working as a gunner. Does that kind of speak to his athleticism and size and all those things? Thanks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Malik McDowell is a specimen, man. I mean, he looks the part. He has the speed. He has the want to and the desire. So what he's going to be able to do on special teams will increase this year. Yes, the hard and soft skills. There's things that you can teach, and there's things that you can't, or become extremely hard to teach. And Malik has really worked hard on being more consistent. That's one thing that we challenge him on in terms of his ball catching ability is to, okay, not everybody's going to catch every ball. But when something does not happen, to be able to shut the door and then move forward so that you don't let, like in golf, one bad shot lead to two bad shots. And so he's working on being consistent. I tell you what, his work ethic, his personality is infectious. Core value for us is positive attitude, and he lives it. He truly lives that. Even on some of his worst days, he's been able to exude that positive attitude, what we look for here.
Let's go to Audrey and finish up with Rich.
Taylor, we've seen some videos that the social media team has put out of Mitch Tinsley and some of the plays he's made this preseason. Are there any plays that have stood out to you that he's made, and how do you think he's looked, and what's impressed you about him?
What impressed me about him is his work ethic. You want to talk about somebody, if you could sketch out the model student, you're sketching out Mitch Tinsley. When he's in the wide receiver room, he literally sits in the front and he listens and is engaged in every word that I say. If I'm talking to somebody else, he is paying attention as if I'm talking to him. He is a true student of the game, and probably somebody, if you look at just his whole last 5 or 6 years, really he's an overachiever. You're talking about somebody who's gone to JUCO, gone to a group of 5 school, and to now be here at Penn State, and setting the stage to hopefully have a really, really good season. And so what I am impressed with Mitch is steadiness, the consistency. There's some plays that really aren't. I know the one social media clip where it's the one-handed grab, which that was smooth. I mean, that was one of those plays where I had thought that he was not going to come down with that, and he made. I was like, "Ooh, did he catch that?" So that one surprised me. But it's the other ones. It's the ones where he knew exactly what the defender was going to do. He gets to him, that stutter route that you're kind of talking about, and making the right decision. And sometimes the right decision is just sitting down. Those are some of the plays that I'm the most impressed with, is his ability to see what the defense is doing, know who to attack, and to really pull out the right tool. That's the thing about being a receiver, once again, that gets overlooked, is you have to use the right tool in the right situation. And he consistently pulls out the right tool.
Last one, Rich, go ahead.
Taylor, how would you describe the camp that Keiondre had? What does he have to do to fulfill his potential?
Keiondre had a pretty good camp. He continues to grow on the mental side of things. He is extremely talented. He has great hands. He has good size. He has good speed, great speed, actually. When his number is called, he has to make sure that nothing stands in his way. When there's a play that's called for him, he needs to execute. And there's no excuses. There's no, I didn't see the signal. There's none of that. And he has done a good job of this fall camp of eliminating the obvious mistakes, eliminating those. Because when you eliminate the obvious mistakes, you put yourself in position to make that big play. And he has the ability on some of the most simplest plays to turn them into explosive plays. And even on some of those simple plays to maybe not make it so simple. But his playmaking factor is high, and I'm excited to see him this season. I'm excited to see this group this season, because it's a little bit like 2020 in terms of what the room was expected to do, which was we didn't know. I'm excited to see some of the new faces out there fight their tails off to do their part to be 1-0.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Taylor, and appreciate everybody joining us this afternoon.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you.